How one simple English story changed everything for me. Hey everyone, welcome back to Speak in English. I'm so glad you're here today because I have a story to share that completely changed the way I see the world, and I believe it can change yours too. You know, there's a quote by Maya Angelou that says, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." And today, I'm going to tell you a story. It's a simple story, but it's one that shifted my perspective in ways I never imagined. It's funny how one small thing can completely change the course of your life. One moment, one story, one realization, and suddenly, everything looks different. So, stick around, because by the end of this video, I promise you'll be thinking about your own life in a new way. Ready? Let's dive in. This all started a few years ago, when I stumbled upon a book in a small, hidden library. I was just browsing, looking for something to pass the time, when I found a little book with an unassuming title, The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. I didn't think much of it at first. It was a short story, just a few pages long, but something about it caught my attention. Maybe it was the simplicity of the title, or the way it seemed to call out to me from the shelf. Whatever it was, I decided to give it a read. And that, my friends, was the moment everything changed. Let me give you a quick summary of the story. The Gift of the Magi is about a young couple, Jim and Della, who are deeply in love but struggling with money. They both want to buy a special Christmas gift for each other, but they don't have enough money to do so. Della has beautiful, long hair, and Jim has a prized pocket watch, the only valuable thing he owns. In an act of selfless love, Della sells her hair to buy a chain for Jim's pocket watch. Jim, in turn, sells his watch to buy combs for Della's hair. On Christmas Eve, they exchange their gifts, only to realize that their sacrifices have made the gifts useless. Jim no longer has the watch to attach the chain to, and Della no longer has her hair to use the combs. It's a heartbreaking, yet beautiful story of love, sacrifice, and the irony of life. But what struck me most was the message at the end. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange and value. But the Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, and they have been and are wise men forever. They are the Magi. When I finished reading that story, something inside me shifted. It wasn't just a sad tale of two people who made foolish decisions. It was a story about the depth of love, the sacrifices we're willing to make for the people we care about, and how sometimes the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected places. I realized that this story wasn't just about a young couple who made a mistake. It was about the selflessness and devotion that love can inspire. Jim and Della weren't foolish. They were wise in a way that most of us don't even understand. They gave up something incredibly valuable to make the other person happy. And in doing so, they showed the true meaning of love. It reminded me of another quote by Albert Einstein. The value of a man resides in what he gives and not in what he is able to receive. Jim and Della gave everything they had, not for themselves, but for each other. And that, to me, is the essence of love. This story changed the way I viewed relationships, the way I viewed love. It made me realize that true love isn't about what we can get from someone, but what we can give. Whether it's our time, our attention, or even something more precious, the act of giving is what strengthens the bond between two people. Before reading this story, I used to think that love was about finding someone who could fulfill my needs, make me happy, or give me something I wanted. But after reading The Gift of the Magi, I understood that love is about giving without expecting anything in return. It's about selflessness, about putting the other person's happiness above your own. This realization didn't just change my perspective on relationships, it changed the way I approach life. I began to focus less on what I could gain and more on what I could give. And that shift in mindset brought me so much peace and fulfillment. What I've come to realize is that love, real, unconditional love, doesn't need to be grand. It can be in the small, everyday moments. It's in the way we listen to someone when they need to talk. It's in the way we show up for people, even when it's inconvenient. It's in the sacrifices we make, not because we have to, but because we want to. And I believe that if we all embraced this kind of love, the kind that's selfless and giving, the world would be a better place. We often get caught up in what we want, what we need, and what we can get. But when we start thinking about what we can give to others, that's when the real magic happens. So, I challenge you. Think about someone in your life who could use a little more love today. What can you give them? Not because they asked for it, but because you truly want to make their life better. As Mother Teresa said, not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. This is the lesson that the gift of the Magi taught me, and it's a lesson that I carry with me every day. So, what's the takeaway from this story? It's simple. Love is about giving. It's about thinking of others before ourselves, making sacrifices, and showing up for the people we care about, no matter the cost. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever made a sacrifice for someone you love? Or perhaps someone made a sacrifice for you? Let's talk about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Speak in English for more stories that inspire and transform. Thanks for watching, and remember, love is the greatest gift we can give.